Episode 11. The CEO's Tender Side. Jade had yet to realize that her every gesture was turning Dario on. Perhaps no one had told her how attractive she was. Damn. Suddenly he cursed softly. What? As Jade was applying the ointment, she suddenly felt warm lips pressed against hers. What was going on? He was kissing her by force. Hey, what are you doing? Jade tried to push him away, but Dario did not even give her a chance to gasp for air. His kiss was domineering. He pinned her down on the seat without saying a word as he tried to slide his tongue into her mouth. Jade held her breath and tried to resist him, but Dario was already running his fingers all over her body. He took the opportunity to slide his tongue in. Jade accidentally moaned as he kissed her harshly. This caused her to feel uncomfortable. Jade had not been in such intimate contact with anyone before. All of a sudden, she felt giddy and numb all over her body. It was so strange that she had never felt anything like this, even with Bruce. His mouth tasted like the peppermint candy he ate. The taste was cool and warm at the same time, and it melted in Jade's mouth. At last, she lost control of herself and kissed him back. The kiss got deeper, deeper than all the galaxies in the universe. When she finally came back to her senses, she gawked at Dario and pushed him away. She stared fiercely at him with a flushed face. You damn rascal, freaking pervert. Jade was so flustered that she wanted to punch him in the face, but he grabbed her before she could do anything. Do you think I'll give you another chance to hit me? Dario's threatening gaze made him look like a hunter looming in the night. That made her feel extremely uneasy. Let go of me, bastard. Damn rascal. I'm going to scream for help. Jade moved backwards while trying to open the car door, but it was already locked. Dario gripped her hands tightly without giving her a chance to escape. Then, he did something unexpected. He held her in his arms. Jade's eyes widened as she stared at the unfamiliar yet handsome man before her. She really could not understand the intention behind his embrace. Just when he wanted to kiss her again, she closed her eyes, furrowed her brow, and bit down fiercely on his lower lip. The blood instantly slid down from his lips. Dario winced slightly at the pain he felt in his lips, but he did not show it on his face. His coal black eyes gazed into hers. He didn't move a muscle. Jade held her breath as she stared at the blood sliding down his lower lips. The mood was getting so tense that she did not even dare to move. She was supposed to escape, but she gazed at him, paralyzed. His stare was terrifying. Dario reached out his hand and wiped off the blood on his lower lip. Then he looked wonderingly at the blood stain on his finger. What was this? Blood? He was actually bleeding? He squinted his eyes as his face turned expressionless. He stared intently at the woman, who was unable to tell whether he was furious or angry. Jade gulped, subconsciously avoiding his gaze. She felt fear in her heart. You know what? Said Dario. You're the first person who has ever dared to hurt me. It was truly incredible. She'd slapped him yesterday, and now she bit his lips. This woman was simply fearless. Jade panted, while pretending to be calm. Dario grabbed and lifted her chin, forcing her to look him straight in the eyes. Is that so, sir? What an honor! Jade spat out the words calmly. Get over here. Dario's sudden fury lit up his handsome face. What do you want? You better not be reckless. Jade was starting to panic, and she couldn't pretend to be calm any longer. Dario raised his hand, and she thought he was going to hit her. Jade shut her eyes subconsciously, but she did not feel any pain after waiting for some time. Instead, she felt a slight chill on her right cheek. When she opened her eyes, she was surprised and chilled to see that the man in front of her was touching her swollen right cheek. Although it hurt, the cooling sensation soothed the pain. Her eyes and mouth were frozen wide open in an expression of stunned surprise. As he applied the ointment on her cheek, Jade's mind went blank. She studied his expression, not knowing what he was thinking. Maybe she provoked him by staring at him too long, because all of a sudden, she felt a slight pain on her right cheek, as if he had done it on purpose. She could not help but move backwards, bite her lips, and softly shout, "It hurts!" She thought he would be a little gentler if he knew that she was hurting. However, he touched the wound again, applying more ointment with more pressure. "Can you be slightly gentler? It hurts so bad." Although Jade's mouth was muttering in dissatisfaction, she still felt warmth in her heart. She made a bold guess. Maybe the ointment she bought for him was for her all along. Then what was the point of all this nonsense? It really was difficult to delve into his thoughts. "What's the matter? You can feel the pain too?" Dario said indifferently, using even more pressure on her cheeks. Jade lowered her head and endured the pain in silence. She didn't dare look at the wound at the corner of his lips. After Dario had finished applying the ointment on her, he put it back inside the bag. Jade was confused, and she forgot about his forceful kiss. She even felt guilty as she looked at the wound on his lips. But he was the one who kissed her without her permission. What was wrong with her biting him? That was what she thought in her heart, but she could not help but apologize to him first. Just now, I didn't mean to—" "Oh? Then it should be intentional," Dario said indifferently, leaving her speechless. "Who said you could kiss me? If you didn't kiss me all of a sudden, I wouldn't have bitten you," Jade said righteously. Dario didn't answer. Instead, he threw the bag at her, opened the car door and said, "You may leave now." Episode 12. Queen Monica. After that, Dario pushed her out of the car. She was unable to defend herself as he pushed her out forcefully. Jade stumbled and stood there blankly with the bag in her hand. Just as she was about to curse him, the luxurious car pulled away, leaving her behind in a cloud of black smoke. She stared at his license plate with 1,000 questions written on her face. That man was simply unreasonable. He had pulled her into the car and then pushed her out for no reason. What was he trying to do? Jade sighed helplessly and shook her head. Forget it. Why am I even thinking about him? She stood there dazed for a moment. She would never see him again, she thought. She looked at the few remaining $10 bills in her bag and sighed helplessly, thinking that she'd been slapped for nothing. After a while, she walked to the nearest bus stop. She intended to visit her grandmother and then return to her home, Winslet Mansion. Meanwhile, Lucas and Dario talked inside the car. "Mr. Foster, where are we heading now? It seems like you've forgotten something." Lucas gave Dario this reminder because he saw that he was spacing out. Dario refocused his gaze and remembered that he had come to the filming area to visit a friend. It was just that he lost track of time when he saw that woman just now. "Let's go back," Dario said casually. "Okay." Lucas felt like laughing when he thought about the director's expression just now. Now that he was going back to the set of the TV series, he wondered what the crew's reaction would be. However, his smiling face suddenly darkened again. Lucas did not know how to put it in words, but he couldn't leave it unsaid. He felt that Dario had already fallen in love with that woman. "Mr. Foster? What is it?" Dario closed his eyes quietly and slowly unbuttoned his shirt. Then he put on his tailored black suit. He still looked as valiant and respectable as always. No one would know about the wounds that suit was hiding. "Go ahead," Dario said with his head down. "Are you still going to search for the person you were looking for 5 years ago?" Even with his eyes closed, Dario's face twitched slightly. However, his expression remained emotionless. He pursed his lips and said nothing. After a moment, he opened his mouth as if to speak, but in the end, he just closed it again. Lucas knew better than to ask anything else. He drove to the filming area without saying another word. As soon as they stepped onto the set, they saw a familiar face. As Dario approached, David immediately noticed the wound on his lips. He rushed up to Dario like a curious child, carefully observing him as if he had discovered a treasure. Though Dario glanced at him condescendingly, David only stopped once he heard Dario's ice-cold voice. "Have you seen enough?" "Wow, Mr. Foster, is that real? Who had the guts to bite you on the lips? Did you have an affair? Tell me, who's the wild kitty? That's exciting. Could it be the one from last night?" Dario met David's excitement with his typical indifference. Lucas stood behind Dario with a stony face to match his boss's expression. Even with the wound on his lips, Dario still kept a poker face. "Are you here for Monica too?" Dario asked casually. "Of course, she is my goddess." David's eyes sparkled like thousands of stars blinking in the sky. "Your goddess, huh? What is this? Your 10th? Dario's tone was merciless. While they were talking, Lucas wandered around the filming area and assessed the situation. He then walked to Dario's side quietly and whispered, Miss Monica is already here. She's currently filming, but she'll be done soon. Monica was one of the top actresses, both well-known and beautiful. She was making a cameo in this TV series to increase its popularity. A cameo from her was enough to make any TV series popular. Due to her busy schedule, she could only film the cameo today. Fortunately, it was only a short scene and would soon be over. Though Queen Monica had a cold personality, she was the goddess of many men. There was always news about her in the media, but no one knew that she was a good friend of the famous Mr. Foster. Besides, she behaved differently in front of Dario. Hey, my little Dari, I've missed you so much. Come to sister. Oh my, you've become even more handsome. A familiar, childlike voice rang past his ears. Even Dario's expressionless face twitched a little when he heard Monica's voice. At that instant, jealousy filled David's eyes. His eyes flashed with indignation and anger, much like lightning on a pitch-black night. Why didn't she call him that? Hey, Monica, do you still remember me? David pushed Dario away and excitedly rushed in front of Monica, striking what he thought was a cool pose. David was handsome indeed, and he was also from a rich family. Countless women wanted to be in a relationship with him, but Monica was the only exception. There was only one Dario in her eyes. David had never gotten any of her attention, much to his frustration. Monica merely gave the guy in front of him a disdainful glance. Oh, it's David. Her attitude was cold, but when she turned to Dario, her expression changed immediately. The smile on her face grew as if she had a dual personality. This woman with many faces terrified David. When Dario looked at the domineering yet beautiful woman with sunglasses before him, his cold gaze eventually became gentle. Miss Monica is getting prettier too. Look at these legs. Look at this waist. You must be the most beautiful woman there is. David praised her without hesitation, but Monica didn't even spare him a glance. Episode 13. 5 years for nothing. When Jade went to the hospital to visit her grandmother, she found out that her grandmother still needed a surgery fee. She walked out of the hospital in distress and decided to go back to Winslet Mansion. Unfortunately, when she arrived at the front door of the house, she saw a couple making out. When she took a closer look, she realized it was Bruce and her cousin Ivana. How shameless could they be to do that in broad daylight? She even said that she was pregnant with his child, but she was making out with him. Maybe she was lying about being pregnant. Jade clenched her fist tightly. For 5 long years, she had given her love to the wrong man. 5 years ago, she was foolish enough to give him her heart after he saved her life. Later, she found out that everything was a lie from the very beginning. Now she was close enough to overhear them. Don't, Bruce. You're so naughty. Tell me, who's prettier, me or my cousin? Of course it's you, you little siren. You're much more beautiful than that frigid woman. She always acts like a corpse. I lose my appetite every time I see her. Bruce mercilessly belittled Jade as his hand slid down Ivana's back. Those words felt like 1,000 daggers piercing Jade's heart as she recalled the promises he had made her. Silly, you are the person I love the most in the world. Don't worry, of course I'll marry you. But yesterday, after all those starry promises, Bruce had finally told her the truth. The one he loved was her cousin. It was unbearable. One was her boyfriend, the other was her cousin. On top of it all, they already had a child. She felt disgusted just thinking about the dirty things they had done behind her back. She really wished that it was only a dream. How could her sweet and gentle Bruce have become so cruel? In a fit of madness, she pushed them away from each other and roared. What did you just say? Bruce appeared slightly guilty at first, and Jade rushed up to scold Ivana. Ivana, you bitch! How could you seduce my boyfriend? Look at yourself in the mirror, scoffed Bruce. You look just like a shrew. What man would like a woman like you? You listen closely. Ivana is pregnant with my child. Don't ever try to lay a finger on her. Bruce, I'm scared. Sister, we didn't mean to hurt you, but we really love each other. Ivana, who always flaunted her status and power over Jade when they were together as a family, acted as gentle as a lamb when she was with Bruce. Shameless. Just when Jade was about to go up and slap Ivana, Bruce immediately stood in front to protect her, then slapped Jade. Enough! Are you done? I've loved Ivana all along. I've had enough of you. Bruce, what are you talking about? Jade gazed at him with doubt as her heart shattered into pieces. I said, you are such a bitch. You keep on pestering me, even when the one I love isn't you? Ivana snuggled in Bruce's arms haughtily. Although she looked weak, her eyes were filled with pride. As she watched them show off their affection, Jade realized her existence had been a joke all along. Well, I guess my cousin is back. Ivana glanced boastfully at Jade, who'd been standing outside the mansion all this time. She hugged Bruce again like she was showing off her trophy. Who cares about her? Let's go back to our room and see where this goes. Bruce kissed her earlobe intimately without giving Jade another glance. To Jade, the whole thing was a farce. However, she did not give up. She still refused to believe that the man who had been so sweet to her would betray her. She even thought that he might have some untold difficulties. Bruce, tell me, what exactly happened? Jade walked towards him, looking miserable. She spoke to him in a pleading voice. When she was about to grab his sleeve and begin a real conversation with him, he pushed her away. Get lost, you disgusting woman. Look at you, wearing such flirty clothes, just acting all innocent in front of me, not knowing that you're a slut just like your mother. Who knows how many men you've had sex with? Ivana said that you didn't come home last night. I guess you're probably flirting with another guy. Luckily, I've already dumped you. Bruce's eyes were filled with disgust and disdain. Jade's body instantly stiffened. She hadn't expected he would say such a thing. She'd taken the clothes she was wearing from the bed in the hotel room that morning because she couldn't find her own. She was in such a hurry to leave, she'd had to take someone else's. So, in his eyes, Jade was that kind of person. It almost made her laugh. It was that ridiculous. What about everything she'd done for him for all those years? Bruce, it's fine to criticize me, but leave my mother out of this. Jade glared fiercely at Ivana, knowing that she was the one spreading the rumors. She had no idea what Ivana had said to make Bruce misunderstand her. Why are you staring at me? The daughter of a bitch is a bitch too. Am I wrong? Ivana glared at her and said righteously, Keep your mouth shut, you tramp. You're the bitch who seduced someone else's boyfriend. Jade was trembling in anger. If it were not for her father's inheritance, they would not end up wealthy too. But now, she was the one who had the lowest status in the family. Why? What are you talking about? Ivana went up to Jade and slapped her, then said to Bruce coquettishly, Bruce, look at her. She's insulting me. Her mother was always a bitch. Besides, a woman who ran off with another man? How good could she be? Oh, my tummy hurts. I'm so upset. I think I might be hurting the baby. Jade looked at her with a smirk and said, Stop being so pretentious. Who knows if you're really pregnant? And even if you are, who knows if he is really the father? Hef, you're a bitch, just like your mother. Do you think you have the right to say that to me? How dare you say that again? Just when Jade wanted to slap her, Bruce ruthlessly pushed her away. Jade, I'm warning you, don't try to touch my girlfriend. My fiancé. Otherwise, don't blame me for the consequences. Ivana, be good. Let's go inside. Ignore this crazy bitch. Bruce's fierce warning to Jade contrasted with his gentle tone as he took Ivana's hand and led her into the house. Jade went into the house after them and saw her aunt sitting on the sofa, dressing luxuriously. Episode 14. Slapped in the face. Back at the film set, Monica was still ignoring David. You don't need to say that, she said. She pounced on Dario and kept on pestering him. Little Dari, tell me now, did you miss me? Who would have thought that the aloof goddess they had dreamed of would behave like a little kitten with a man? She was actually acting cute. Yes. Dario lowered his eyes and said to her, although he was keeping a poker face, his eyes were a lot gentler. It was rare to see Dario with such a gentle gaze. Good boy, come, I'll give you a kiss. Monica's face was filled with satisfaction. As she pouted her lips and was about to lean forward to kiss him, an ice-cold face suddenly appeared in front of her. Dario took a step back. Lucas was left in the middle, looking at her helplessly, and said with caution, Miss Monica, there are still a lot of paparazzi here. Please, be aware of your public image. Monica rolled her eyes elegantly and said, Tisk, with my little Dari here, I don't think anyone would dare to write about my scandal unless they wanted to die. She said it confidently, and it was the truth. This was because Dario had the capability to close down the TV studio, not to mention the paparazzi. However, Monica's gaze was still fixed on his face. But there are people I dislike here. Little Dari, let's chat in the car instead. Dario nodded slightly and left with her, completely ignoring everyone else's existence. David stood alone, where they'd been talking. The wind was blowing strongly. It was obvious that the person Monica disliked was him. He glanced at the paparazzi that was hiding and cursed loudly. What are you looking at? Monica already said she doesn't like you guys, but you still follow her around? How annoying. I warn you, if any of you dare to write anything about what just happened just now, prepare to pack your stuff and head home. The paparazzi nodded his head pitifully. He thought that he might catch the latest news, but he did not expect to see Dario here. No one would dare to write anything about a scandal that involved him, because they had heard that those who did had been killed. Some of them had only heard about the news, but had yet to publish it. In short, the rumors were terrifying. He would not dare to take the risk. Dario and Monica were sitting quietly in the limited edition Maserati. Monica took off her sunglasses, revealing a pair of bright yet enchanting eyes. They were mesmerizing to look at. She looked even more stunning with her makeup. Dario glanced affectionately at her. After so many years, no matter how much she had changed and how many roles she had played, her personality and her pure temperament remained. Those who said that she was aloof probably did not really know her. In front of him, she was like a flame, lively and warm-blooded. Are you still filming later? Dario asked. Monica glanced at the time, pouted her lips, looking slightly upset, and said, It's almost done, but there's still another show I have to attend. These people are so annoying. They keep on inviting me to their shows. Dario burst into laughter after seeing her expression. Some people can't get on shows even if they want to, and this is the path you've chosen. How could you complain? Good luck, Monica. I didn't complain. Forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's go grab something tasty to eat before I have to go. Monica then gave him a smile. Dario thought that people would like her even more if she put that smile on her face more often. Let's go. I'll take you to a nice place to fill your stomach. Back at Winslet Mansion, Bruce and Ivana had gone inside. Oh, Bruce and Ivana are back. Quick, take a seat. Jade's aunt, Susanna Winslet, smiled like sunshine the moment she saw Bruce. Bruce was the son of a rich family, but she had not expected him to fall for Jade first. However, it was all good now. Bruce and her daughter were a perfect match, and Jade was just an abandoned orphan. She was just a pitiful girl who had to rely on their family for a living, and she certainly didn't deserve Bruce. It was already good enough for her to spare Jade some food, and she even paid for the medical bills of her half-dead grandmother. After all that, she still wanted to snatch away her daughter's boyfriend. That was shameless. Mum, I'll talk to you later. We're going to our room. All right, I'll see you later. Ivana smiled happily as she pulled Bruce back to her room. Oh, our Miss Jade is back. As soon as Susanna saw Jade at the door, her expression changed drastically. Even her tone was harsh and sarcastic. Aunt? Jade walked towards her reluctantly. She didn't want to return to Winslet Mansion, but there was nothing she could do. When Jade stood in front of Susanna suddenly stepped forward and slapped her in the face. Jade froze in place, stunned. Her beautiful eyes widened, then filled with hatred. "Now then, you know I'm your aunt? I asked you to come back last night, but you hung up on me? You were out all night? It seems like you're getting bolder nowadays." Susanna yelled at her mercilessly. All the maids were going about their business and pretended not to see anything because they had already gotten used to it. Jade knew that no one would stop this, so she did not turn to anyone for help. Jade looked at her indifferently and said with a straight face, "That's right, I'm outrageous. Then how about Ivana being pregnant before marriage?" Susanna furiously stared at her, but just when she was about to slap her again, she moved away. "What do you know? She's Bruce's fiancée, unlike you. You are only his toy that he threw away once he got bored of playing. A man wouldn't love a woman like you for real. You're just like your mother, seducing men everywhere you go. I warn you, Bruce and Ivana are now happily together. You better not think of any dirty tricks to separate them, or else I won't let you off easy," Susanna warned Jade angrily. "I have to thank my cousin, Ivana, for picking up the trash I threw away. And don't drag my mother into this. She has nothing to do with it." Although Jade said it as if it did not matter to her, every word that Susanna said pierced her heart. "I want to say it. What can you do about it? Don't be so shameless. Stupid girl. How dare you talk back to me?" Episode 15. A Rich Lady. "Shut up. Look at you. You are not behaving like an adult. Do you not know that Mr. Bruce Stevens is upstairs? What would he think of our family if he saw you being immature?" A solemn voice rang past their ears. The person who spoke was none other than her uncle, John Winslet. Suzanne rolled her eyes at him with anger. She was furious but could not say anything. John then looked at Jade amiably and said to her in a gentle voice, "Jade, don't mind your aunt. She never knows her limit. We're just worried about you. Last night we had an important matter to talk to you about, and that's why we called. Where have you been?" "Worried?" Jade smirked. They eagerly wished that she would die as soon as possible, so they could legally take away all the inheritance left to her by her father. Bruce recently broke her heart, and with Suzanne and Ivana continuing to insult her mother, she felt like crying. However, she felt she must not show her weakness in front of them. She clenched her fists, fiercely dug her nails into her palms, and forced back all her tears. Although she pretended to be indifferent, she struggled to act strong. "Why were you guys looking for me? Oh, yeah. Soon it will be my graduation. There are still a lot of things to do for school, so I should get going." After Jade finished speaking, she turned away and left without looking at them. When she had just stepped out of the door, Suzanne's shrill voice rang past her ears again. "Jade, what's with your attitude? You better come back immediately. Didn't you hear that we have something to ask you?" "And what if I don't?" In the end, Jade turned around and obediently went back into the house because Suzanne said, Leave then. I'll withdraw your grandmother's hospitalization and treatment fees right away." Jade bit her lips as she clenched her fists and cursed them within. These people were truly despicable. They knew her grandmother was the only family she had left in this world, yet they used her grandmother to blackmail her. Are they even human? Was Jade's grandmother not their relative too? Jade held her breath and then sighed heavily as she returned to the living room. She casually asked, "What's the urgent matter?" "Jade, take a seat first," John said as he pointed to the sofa. "It's okay. Standing here will do. If you have something to say, get straight to the point. My schedule is tight." Suzanne snorted. Her eyes were filled with ridicule and contempt. However, her tone was slightly better than before. "What else is there to talk about? It's about your marriage, of course. Your aunt cares about you too. You're graduating soon, and it's so hard to find a job nowadays. So why don't you find a rich man and get married? Then you'll be able to enjoy being wealthy for the rest of your life. Don't you think so?" "Get straight to the point." Jade lowered her gaze. She felt goosebumps as an ominous premonition came to her. Suzanne smiled and continued. You really are fortunate that a CEO of a company has taken a fancy to you. He is a well-known businessman in Washington. He has gone through divorce twice, but as long as you're willing to marry him, you'll become a rich lady. Really? A rich lady? I wonder which CEO fancies me, Jade sneered. She knew very well that she didn't know any CEOs. Moreover, he'd been divorced twice and was much older than her. She could see this was all part of Suzanne's scheme. I knew it. You're just like your mother. The moment you hear of becoming rich, you want to marry without hesitation. Jade was triggered by Suzanne's words. Before Suzanne could finish speaking, Jade ruthlessly slapped her. This time, Jade was truly furious. Aunt, please show some respect and stop insulting my mum. For that moment, Jade even raised her voice. Normally, she would not mind being bullied by them. But today her aunt and Ivana kept on talking about her mother. The worst thing was that every word they said was an insult to her mother, causing her to be unable to tolerate them. Jade, are you not in your right mind today? How dare you talk to me like that? Do you even know how to respect your elders? Enough. Stop talking so that we don't forget about the real deal here. John could not take it anymore, so he spoke up. His words were filled with dignity. After Suzanne heard him, she glanced at him with angry eyes and obediently shut her mouth. Jade, your aunt is doing this for your own good. Look, this is such a rare opportunity. Think of how many girls are out there who would want to marry into a rich family, and you've got an opportunity effortlessly. In fact, this is your luck and blessing. We've already arranged everything with the CEO, and tomorrow will be the day for both of you to meet. Remember to dress up beautifully. You'll have to skip class tomorrow too. Also, tomorrow is the day to decide on a date for the marriage, John Winslet said. After hearing John's words, Jade thought she was having an illusion. Arranged the date for marriage? With a strange older man? Were they trying to throw her under the bus? It's such a good opportunity. Why don't you bestow this opportunity to become rich on your daughter instead, since I'm afraid that I don't deserve such a blessing? So don't ever think that I will tolerate all this nonsense. Whoever wants to marry him can go ahead, but me. The disappointment flowed through her veins and deadened her mind. All she had left was her determination. Jade couldn't believe that they were trying to force her to get married in these modern times. Jade, how can you say that? We've arranged everything so well for you. What are you not satisfied with? Seeing that Jade did not agree with the marriage, John Winslet's face turned livid and revealed its true colors. Huh? Satisfied? Do you think a 22-year-old student would be satisfied to marry an old man? Jade, what are you talking about? What do you mean by old man? He's a well-known businessman. There are many women who want to marry him, yet he's interested in you. You have to seize this opportunity. My apologies, my good uncle. I'm afraid I don't want to seize this opportunity. John was stunned. He looked at her in surprise, as he never expected her to be so determined. Jade tried to hold back her tears. Ever since she had lost her parents, she thought that her uncle, who was slightly better than her other relatives, would be the only one she could rely on. She could have never thought that he would try to force her to marry someone she had never seen before. Although she thought of this as her home, she'd never felt the warmth of a home in this house before. Jade, listen with your ears wide open. All these years we have treated you well in the Winslet family, even after your mother ran away with another man and your father passed away. Think of who has provided you with food, clothes, and education. This is the time for you to repay your gratitude. Besides, we've spent so much money on your grandmother's hospitalization fees. Do you think that she could survive without us? Suzanne spoke in an unyielding manner, not giving Jade a chance to speak. A teardrop finally rolled down Jade's cheek as her lips trembled with rage. Episode 16. Is she a ghost? Bruce, you are inhuman. The cold wind cut through her skin and tortuously slashed her to the bone with constant harsh blows. Her heart was numbed as she stumbled out of the house. At last, she couldn't take it anymore. Her eyes glimmered with watery tears, and she felt that the whole world was about to crumble. Ever since she'd become a young adult, she felt that she was living in a show of depending on them to survive. Now she was being forced to marry someone she had never seen before. The person she gave her heart to had always just been toying with her. He was right. It was because she was dumb enough to fall for the wrong man. Bruce, why? Why didn't you tell me that you weren't the one to save me? Jade dropped to her knees and screamed out her despair with all her might. She sobbed, and tears flooded like water rushing down from a waterfall. The only time she stopped was to fill her lungs with fresh air. Everything turned out to be a lie, and Bruce had just been playing with her feelings from the very beginning. Jade was unwilling to accept the truth, and she buried her face in her knees and warmed her freezing body. A black Rolls-Royce was coming in her direction from afar. Dario, didn't the man you sent already confirm that the lady had gone home? Why did you want to see for yourself? It seems like you are really interested in that lady, huh? Lucas said earnestly as he drove. Stop your nonsense and drive the car, Dario Foster said in an indifferent voice. After a while, Lucas saw something strange and slowed down the car. He then took a good look at it and saw someone kneeling on the ground. Lucas swallowed his saliva and said discreetly, Dario, did you hear anything strange? Damn, this place is off the map. Could it be a ghost? Without even lifting his head, Dario Foster said impatiently, What's the matter? Are you afraid of ghosts? Lucas turned on the headlights and slowed down the car. Right away, he had the shock of his life and brought the car to a halt. Fortunately, Dario managed to prevent Lucas from crashing. Lucas, are you sick of working? Dario's words were full of anger. He clearly did not understand the situation. Dario was stupefied when he saw Lucas staring at him with fear in his eyes, as if he were about to cry. Dario then thought of the untold secret that only he knew about Lucas, which was that he was afraid of ghosts. This place was indeed remote, and no one was walking on the street, but there was no need to be scared. That's not it, Dario. There really is something ahead. Lucas parked the car in a hurry but did not dare to move. Dario lifted his eyes and saw that Lucas's face was as pale as a ghost. Lucas did not seem to be lying. Dario looked and saw a woman in a red dress, with messy hair kneeling and crying on the ground. It was terrifying at first glance. No wonder Lucas was afraid. However, Dario immediately recognized the dress. His pupils contracted and his face turned pale. He was the one who bought that dress, an original custom-made dress that no ordinary person could buy. With one glance, he recognized the person kneeling on the ground. Dario, did you see? There really is someone there. It might even be a ghost. I don't dare to go over. What should I do? Am I going to die here today? Lucas, who was usually calm, started babbling nonsense. Dario's eyes darkened and became misty. He did not care about Lucas. He opened the door and rushed out of the car. Dario Foster, where are you going? Don't leave me here alone. I'm scared. Lucas's face was pale with fright when he saw Dario leave the car, but he did not dare to follow. He just stayed in the car and prayed to himself. Dario was unable to control his emotions. He stopped his work and immediately rushed towards her and wanted to give her warmth. He stood in front of her as he panted, and his heart pounded in his chest. Jade lifted her head when she heard footsteps approaching her. At that moment, her swollen red eyes met with a pair of star-like eyes. Jade had been crying for some time now, and the wound on her face was yet to recover, which made her look even more pitiful and heartbreaking. Dario's heart trembled when he saw her on the ground. He had never experienced a feeling like this before, and then he realized that the feeling was heartache. Jade was stunned when she saw who was standing before her. She did not expect to see him again, and wondered why every time he saw her when she was in her most miserable state. She was stunned for a moment, and then she turned her head to avoid his gaze. She looked at the car behind him, moved aside, and held on to her freezing body. She thought that he was there to chase her off the street because she was blocking his path. Furthermore, she did not want anyone to see her in such a miserable state. As she had already had enough humiliation for one day, she just wanted to be alone. Dario pursed his lips and took off his suit jacket in the blink of an eye. When Jade came to her senses, her body was already covered with his warmth. She felt the warmth of his jacket surrounding her cold body. She turned her head towards him and gave him a cold smile. Was he pitying her? She thought she must have just looked like a beggar. But still, she had her dignity. She immediately took off the suit and returned it to him. As she had been crying for so long, her clear and melodious voice became hoarse and she sounded unpleasant. There's no need. Your suit must be very expensive. If you want to return it to me, then return that dress as well, since it also belongs to me, Dario said condescendingly while he stood in front of her. Jade gazed at him indifferently, her throat tightening as she felt a sense of impending doom. She had thought that he was a good person and never thought that he would mock her. All right, then, I'll give it back to you. Jade gradually stood up and gritted her teeth. She was ready to go all out. Fine. Since everyone wanted to embarrass her, she would fulfill their wishes. Episode 17. A Warm Embrace. Just as Jade was about to take off her dress, Dario's eyes darkened and he pulled her up without her consent. Because she'd been kneeling down for a long time, Jade's legs were numbed and she wobbled and fell into his arms. This was the third time she'd fallen into his arms. She disliked this stranger, but at that moment he reached out to hug her, and a loving thought appeared in her heart. His embrace was warm, and she really needed a hug at that moment. As Jade closed her eyes, tears flowed from the corners of her eyes and down her neck. Her pain flowed through her eyes, and this time she did not think of holding them back. In her heart, she wished for him to keep hugging her for just a little longer. She felt like she was in a dream. Lucas, get the car over here. Are you really sick of working? Although the car was some distance away, Dario's powerful voice still reached Lucas's ears. As he saw the scene clearly through the car's headlights, Lucas was shocked. Lucas wondered what he saw, and whether it was a female ghost who his boss was carrying in his arms. Just as he felt frightened and was about to escape, he suddenly realized that the ghost looked familiar. Lucas thought, was that not the lady he slept with last night? Seriously, what a coincidence. Thank God, not a ghost then. Lucas felt relief instantly, and his expression became normal again. He stamped on the accelerator. In the next second, the car stopped beside Dario and Jade. Seeing that Dario's car had arrived, Jade knew it was her time to leave. She pushed against his chest gently because she wanted to turn around and leave. However, Dario held her tightly, dragged her into the car, and quickly closed the door. Lucas turned on the heater in the car as soon as he saw Jade shivering. As the temperature in the car rose gradually, Jade began to feel comfortable again. The goosebumps on her snow-white skin slowly disappeared. Thank you, I should leave now. Jade struggled to get out of Dario's arms, but he did not seem like he wanted to let her go, and warned her, if you want to leave, then take off the dress. I've told you before, I hate chatty women. You better stay here obediently for now. After hearing what Dario said, Jade was fuming with anger. But she did not dare take another step because she knew he was serious. She did not know what he would do the next second. She felt she was on the verge of despair, but when she looked at him, he was like a candle in the dark. He brought her hope and led her out of the darkness. Her eyes were shining like the bright moon hanging in the night sky. Every time she met him, she felt things would not be so bad anymore. But she wondered why a strong and independent woman like her would obediently listen to him. Besides, after being forced by her uncle and aunt, her self-esteem was low. She bit her lip and struggled out from his embrace, since she felt it was improper for people to be intimate when they were not a couple. Dario squinted his eyes and stared at her menacingly. He then looked at her clothes and spoke in an indifferent voice. Even with the heater on, Jade could feel coldness cutting through her bones to the marrow. If you dare to move again, I'll strip you and throw you out immediately. Jade stared at him stubbornly. If she had been any other woman, she would have offered herself to him, but she kept trying hard to escape. What are you waiting for? Drive. Dario glanced coldly at Lucas as if he was saying, when did you become so senseless? Stop, I want to leave. Dario ignored her and said, what's the matter? Didn't you eat today? Why are you driving so slowly? After hearing this, Lucas stepped on the accelerator and sped up to 140 kilometers per hour. The car felt as if it were flying, and in the back seat, Jade felt that the tires were lifting off of the road because of the speed. Jade was scared as just in that moment, Dario opened the car door. Jade was shocked and took a step back without knowing what she was doing. However, Dario held her hand tightly and made her sit closer to the car door. At that moment, she could clearly feel the wind scraping against her delicate skin and the pain of the coldness cutting through to her bones. What are you trying to do? Jade panicked and screamed. Dario forced her to lean outwards so that half of her head was exposed outside the door. causing her to be extremely terrified. On the other hand, she could still clearly feel that his strong arms were holding her by the waist, preventing her from falling. "Didn't you want to leave? Go on." Jade heard a playful yet sarcastic voice in her ears. Jade gritted her teeth and felt she was on the verge of death. She said to herself, "Devil, this person is definitely a devil." Jade gripped the car door and tightened her lips. Dario smiled as his left hand still held her around the waist tightly, but his right hand began to move restlessly around her body. Jade could hear and feel him unzipping her dress. Her heart skipped a beat. Jade wondered what he was trying to do and whether he was really going to take off her dress and throw her out of the car. As he pulled at the zipper of her dress, Dario asked again in an indifferent tone, "Do you still want to leave? Don't make me ask again." Jade's teeth were chattering from the cold, yet she still did not want to surrender. Suddenly, she felt a chill on her back. Dario had already pulled down the zipper of her dress so that he could see her underwear. At that moment, Jade finally realized that he was serious. He was not joking. She was no match for him. "I don't want to leave anymore." As soon as she finished speaking, she felt a force pulling her back into her seat. Dario closed the car door immediately, and the howling wind finally turned into warm air. Her heart was pounding hard and she was shivering in fear. She sat in her seat for about 10 minutes while Dario remained silent. He was trying to warm her up with his body temperature, and she did not resist. At that time, her tears had already dried up. Finally, she calmed herself down and said something to Dario. "Thank you." Episode 18. Is dying that easy? Dario's eyes showed a hint of surprise as he let out a smirk. Jade was smarter than he expected. "Dying is not that easy." He blurted out these words with his seductive, plump lips. Although what Dario said seemed to be random, it actually touched Jade's heart. For the first time, she realized that there was someone who could understand her well. It was true that she had considered dying. If she hadn't, she wouldn't have been kneeling on the street so that she could easily come in front of any vehicle. At that time, she felt that she'd fallen into a black hole and it was pitch black all around her. She'd been living in a world of being bullied by others and being restrained by her only family. She felt useless because she hadn't recognized the one who saved her 5 years ago, which led her to love the wrong man. She thought that she might as well die, since that way no one else would be able to decide her fate. But Dario's actions had completely sobered her up. She realized death was much more terrifying than living. During the moment when her head was forced out of the car door, many good memories about her family, grandmother, friends, and the man who saved her flashed through her mind. The most important thing was that she must take revenge on her aunt and uncle, who took away her father's inheritance and seized what belonged to her. How could she just die and fulfill their wish? Their daughter and her cousin sister Ivana stole her boyfriend, and Bruce used despicable means to hurt her. Death would bring sadness to the one who loved them and happiness to their nemesis. How could she just leave this world and let them live happily ever after? She must not. Jade rubbed her red and swollen yet beautiful eyes and regained her spirit. Unexpectedly, Dario had shown a faint smile on his usually ice-cold face. When he saw Jade, her eyes were filled with despair, and she looked as if she had lost her soul. Then, she finally found her path back to her soul. "I know you're trying to help me, so thank you. It's fortunate that you found me tonight. If you hadn't, I'm not sure what I would have done." Although Jade's lips were dry, her smile was beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. Jade thought that from now on, she must live a good life for herself. Who the heck was Bruce anyway? Just a scumbag who did not deserve her tears. But she did not expect Dario to use the method he did to enlighten her. It was simply too much excitement. Dario smiled and pretended to be indifferent as he said, "Don't misunderstand me. I really did want to push you out of the car." Jade blinked her eyes and remained silent. She knew that he was a caring person on the inside, but full of pride at the same time, so she remained silent. In the next moment, Dario had an evil smirk on his face, and his gaze looked like a bloodthirsty murderer. Then, a soft yet heartless voice made an ethereal sound in the car. "I will make those who made you cry pay." What did you just say now? Jade was dumbfounded as she looked strangely at the handsome yet indifferent face before her. He seemed to have said something, but it was too soft, so she did not hear it clearly. Dario did not say a word but forcefully pulled her to his side and forced her into his arms. Then he said to her in a commanding manner, "Get some rest." Since she could not resist, she might as well enjoy it. The unfamiliar but minty fragrance of his body made Jade feel secure, more secure than she'd felt living in the Winslet family for over 10 years. She then closed her eyes and sobbed silently without anyone knowing. Dario looked at the woman trembling in his arms, and his cold black pupils contracted. He held her arms even tighter and made a decision. After some time, Jade leaned into Dario's muscular warm embrace and fell asleep unwittingly from exhaustion. Her breathing was calm and she slept as quietly as a child. But during her sleep, she frowned from time to time as though she was bothered by many things. "Dario, where should we go now?" Lucas whispered softly. Lucas thought that Dario would say to go to a hotel. Go home. Apart from his mother and servants, no other woman had ever entered Dario's house. "You talk a little too much today," Dario said impatiently. Dario wondered if he should consider changing his driver. Lucas immediately shut his mouth and returned to Dario's mansion as fast as he could, and then he disappeared from Dario's sight. Lucas was unsure whether he should still search for the girl from 5 years ago. What did Dario mean? When Dario carried Jade to the door, the butler immediately opened it, and the maids were waiting in a neat row in the hall. The scene was spectacular. "Welcome back, Mr. Foster." Dario glanced at the butler and pointed at the woman who was sleeping soundly in his arms. The butler and the maids held their breath. The pitiful butler was covered in a cold sweat. Dario had never glanced at him that way before. Dario ignored the crowd that came to greet him and carried Jade up to the second floor. His bedroom was on the right side of the second floor. Besides his bedroom, there was also a changing room, a gym, and a study room. The mansion had everything he needed, and it was even more flourishing than downtown. Dario carefully laid her on his bed and gently covered her with a blanket to warm her up. The yellowish light of the side lamp by the bed gently shone on her beautiful sleeping face. His gaze darkened as he stared at her red and swollen cheek. He could not help but frown as he muttered to himself, "She is really troublesome." There seemed to be many slap marks on her face. A cool sensation woke Jade up. She opened her eyes and saw that Dario was applying ointment to her face. She looked around at the unfamiliar surroundings. The room was minimally furnished, yet it still looked elegant. The man before her eyes looked so gentle under the dim light, but his eyes were still as cold as ice, making him seem unapproachable. Episode 19. An Unusual Breath. When did I fall asleep? Where am I? Jade opened her eyes widely and felt giddy. In bed? Seeing that she had woken up, Dario lifted the blanket and checked whether he missed any wounds. Unsurprisingly, he saw a scratch on her knee. Jade was trying to guess whether this was his house. It did not look like a hotel, and she wondered why he would bring her to his house. "Why did you bring me here?" Now that he thought about it, he remembered that he had just met her the previous day. They had only met each other twice. Why did he treat her so well? "Because you slept with me?" Dario answered without hesitation. However, Jade was shocked and blushed when she heard him. Although Jade already knew that he would say something unexpected from time to time, she was still not used to hearing such cheesy words. "What nonsense are you talking about? What do you mean that I've slept with you? Why are you so shameless to say something like that?" Her heart almost pounded out of her chest. She wasn't sure about what happened the previous night. She wondered if they really had sex. Dario glanced at her as he had seen through her thoughts. He then took the initiative and said, "Don't worry. Nothing happened between us last night. We only slept naked on the bed." With that, he gave a vague smile and continued in a very indifferent voice. "I didn't expect you to have such big boobs. I really shouldn't judge a book by its cover." Jade was furious. Although she wanted to retort, she did not know what he would say if they continued the conversation, so she decided to give it up. She realized that her best option was to keep her mouth shut obediently and not ask any questions. "Put your legs down," Dario commanded. "Huh? What?" Jade said nervously. Dario did not say another word, but forcefully pulled her legs straight, squeezed the ointment onto his hand, and gently rubbed it on her wound. When he touched her skin, it felt like he was caressing her. Jade blushed as red as an apple. She then took a deep breath, touched her cheeks, and realized that her face was burning hot. Her breathing also gradually became heavier. He did not turn on the heater, so it was strange that she felt so stuffy. Jade wriggled her legs uneasily and wondered why he was applying the ointment so slowly. However, the more she moved, the tighter Dario held her leg, and the more impudent his movements became. He slowly moved her fingers from her knees up to her inner thighs. "Hey, stop, my thigh isn't injured." Jade pressed her skirt tightly against her thighs and felt bashful. Dario smiled and spat out 3 words that made her roll her eyes. "Internal injury." "You're the one with internal injuries. Let go of me now." "Why should I?" Because you didn't apply the ointment well, and it doesn't make me feel good at all," Jade blurted out. She did not think ahead when she spoke, and after she did, Dario stared into her eyes with a totally different gaze, as if there was something strange on her face. Jade quickly covered her mouth as she realized that she had said something wrong. However, it was too late for her to take back her words. Dario smirked, squinted with his enchanting eyes, bent over, and pinned her down as he rubbed ointment on her. His seductive voice became gentle and deep. "Is that so? Uncomfortable? Do you want to know what's comfortable?" Jade could clearly feel his warm breath on her lips. His posture, along with the dim light, made everything seem natural. She was already breathing heavily, and now she became even more flustered. She really wanted him to leave and stay away from her, but she opened her mouth and realized that she could not say a word. The only thing she felt was her entire body heating up, and her heart was pounding out of her chest. She grabbed onto the pillow as her beautiful eyes filled with fear. Seeing her panic-stricken, innocent and repellent expression, Dario looked at her flushed cheeks and down at her breasts. Her snow-white, seductive collarbone was full of temptation, and her rosy pink skin made Dario even more obsessed with her. "Do you want to be more comfortable?" Dario purposely leaned close to her ear and whispered in a deep, seductive voice. She could feel his breath against her ears, and it made her feel slightly itchy. Her mind suddenly went blank, as if Dario had entirely bewitched her. Why did he keep saying misleading words? Jade did not look at him because she was afraid that his gaze would attract her. She swallowed her saliva and said in a slightly hoarse voice, "I want a drink." "What's the matter? Do you want drunken sex again?" Dario pursed his lips and looked displeased. She ignored his words and changed the topic. Jade sighed softly and closed her eyes. Her wet black eyelashes trembled with her sigh, which made him want to kiss her. "No, I just want a drink," Jade replied in a soft voice. She just wanted to have a drink and forget everything that had happened that day. She wanted to forget about all those unhappy things and start a new life. He just stared at her quietly without making another move. After some time, he got up and said in a deep, alluring voice, "If you want it, go and get it yourself. The wine cabinet is the second room on the second floor." "All right." Jade stumbled as she barefoot walked out of the room. The cold sensation from the ground helped her to regain her consciousness. She did not wear shoes and walked in the direction that he told her. Jade did not want to wake up but wanted to get drunk and sleep in her dream. The room was unlocked, and from the moment she pushed open the door, she saw a variety of wines filling up the entire cabinet. Every bottle of wine was like a work of art, exceptionally exquisite and well-placed. They were so attractive that she did not even dare to touch any of them. She thought that they must be expensive, but who cares? All she wanted was to get drunk, and the owner had told her to drink. Therefore, she did not feel guilty and picked a random bottle of wine. Because she did not know how to open a wine bottle, she picked the one that was already open. They were both red wines and white wines. Episode 20. Getting drunk again. She did not recognize any of the wine brands, but just blindly drank. Then she grabbed a few bottles of wine and a crystal wine glass, and she placed them on the table. Wrapping her long fingers around the glass, she felt the heat of her body leach into the wine. She raised the glass and took a sip, feeling a keen burn on her tongue and throat. Dario pushed open the door and gazed at her smooth fair neck that was pure and flawless like a swan. Jade glanced at him and then quietly took out another cup. She then poured a glass of wine as an invitation to drink with her. "I don't want to drink with a crazy drunk woman. Who knows what you might do to me?" Jade did not react to his words. She just bit her lower lip and poured herself another glass of wine. She chugged it down with her eyes closed. She neither knew how expensive the wine was or how strong. After chugging down her glass of wine, she felt a burning sensation in her stomach and began to feel dizzy. She glanced at the bottle and vividly saw the number 15. Could this wine contain 15% alcohol? Keep on drinking, Dario said in a cold voice as he looked at the other glass of wine. Jade squinted her eyes, lifted her head, and saw him staring at her. However, his gaze was unfathomable, making it difficult for her to tell what he was thinking. Why was this man so inscrutable? She pursed her lips and remained silent. She desperately gulped down all the wine. In the next moment, her face was red. Her body started to heat up, and she felt slightly dizzy. When she thought about how Bruce betrayed her, how her aunt and uncle forced her to marry a stranger, and how her cousin mocked her, her heart felt like an insatiable fire that burnt all the oxygen in her body, leaving her listless and empty. What hurt the most was that she could not do anything for her grandmother, who was now in the hospital and loved her more than anyone else did. As she thought about these memories, Jade's eyes instantly filled with tears. She picked up the wine bottle instead of the glass and planned to drink directly from the bottle. But just when the cold bottle was about to touch Jade's lips, Dario suddenly grabbed the bottle from her hands. Then a cold voice rang in her ear. "If you keep drinking, I'll throw you out." Jade felt her whole body go limp, probably because she was drunk. She stared at him in a daze and giggled all of a sudden. Then she said with certainty, "Let me out. I don't believe that you'll throw me out." At that moment, she did not know how she could be so presumptuous while drunk in front of a stranger. Maybe it was that she subconsciously felt safe being with him. Since he had not hurt her, how bad could he be? Besides, he was 1,000 times better than the people in her family. "Give me the wine. It's mine." Jade looked for the wine bottle. When she finally realized it was in Dario's hands, she pounced on him. However, Dario raised up his arm while holding the bottle and did not intend to give it to her. "Give it to me now. I want to drink it." Jade grabbed Dario's shirt and pestered him. Unfortunately, he was so tall that she could not reach the bottle of wine he was holding. She thought she would try to outsmart him by stepping on his feet so that she could reach the bottle. Unexpectedly, her gesture brought them closer to each other. Dario's star-like pupils contracted, and he grabbed her around the waist with the other hand because he was afraid that she might fall. As she leaned against his warm chest, Jade could not help but snuggle against him. She could not understand why she felt so comfortable around him. She lifted her hazy eyes to his flawless and handsome face. Maybe it was because of the alcohol, but she could not resist reaching out her arms to wrap them around his neck. She attentively looked at every detail of the features of his face. His cold, jet-black eyes were unfocused. Jade felt that deep down, he was full of tranquility. He always had an intense aura, and his manner of speech had an annoying tone to it, but she was not able to talk back to him. His chiseled features seemed as if they were meticulously carved and gave her the feeling that he was noble. Jade was becoming even more obsessed with him. "Have you seen enough?" Dario lowered his gaze and looked down at Jade. He started to feel a ripple in his heart. Jade smiled and unknowingly said something from her heart. "How can you be so good-looking? You're even prettier than those female celebrities on TV. God, it's really unfair. Why would a man be so good-looking?" Jade sounded slightly jealous, which dumbfounded Dario. After she stopped talking, she reached out her slender fingers and unrestrainedly touched his handsome face without knowing that no one had ever dared to touch him so recklessly before. "Do you want drunken sex again?" Dario stared at her delicate, rosy cheeks. At that moment, her misty eyes and red, plump lips were like beautiful flowers that he could not help but pick. "No. When did I ever have drunken sex?" She was in a bad mood because she remembered what the nurse had told her that morning. She told her that her grandmother's condition was already critical, and if she did not make a decision right away, her grandmother might not be able to stay alive. However, just like her aunt said, the surgery would cost more than $300,000. The Winslet family gave her two choices. One was to agree to their arrangements and marry the rich CEO. Another was to give up on her only family. She knew how ruthless the family was, and that they were willing to watch her grandmother die, so she was terrified. Deciding between these two choices was difficult. Jade carefully caressed his face. She traced its outline to his tall nose and his eyes. Dario just gazed at her quietly from the beginning to the end. "Why do we have so many choices to make in life? Why do they want me to make such a painful decision?" Jade muttered to herself. In the next second, she felt Dario's cold lips forcefully pressed against hers. Just as she was about to slide her tongue into his mouth, he shoved her away. Jade was slightly surprised and subconsciously took a step back. Her first thought was, does he dislike me? Do you know what you're doing? Dario squinted his eyes as they darkened, and he clenched his fist tightly without Jade noticing.